special program exploring the causes of family violence and potential solutions.
The Great One, the Great One. Where is the Great One? Where are you?
Skylark drags himself through the storm. The wind is driving the rain before him. Leaves whirling around his saturated frame, clinging to his eyes just long enough to deprive him of sight, causing him to trip and fall. There's mud caked to his tired feet. He tries to scrape it off on a fallen branch. Weary he is, heavy his heart. He's lost his way. Turning abruptly, he thinks he sees a light. No, more like a lightning flash somewhere in the deep forest.
Where am I? And where is the Great One?
Now a vigorous gust of wind picks him up, tumbles him through the air to the bottom of a very large tree. He looks up. He sees a door, a shelter. Weakly, he tries to hit the door with his wet wing. The storm is louder than his effort. Drawing all of his weight to one side, he propels himself towards the door with as much strength as possible and slams against the door with a loud wallop. Behind the door, someone scurries. The door opened cautiously.
Who is it? This night has no mercy for travelers.
Skylark's wet body convulsed in sobs as he throws himself into the doorway.
I've come so far. The Great One. Where's the Great One?
He lay there in a heap in front of the fire, not wishing to speak. His mind haunted with the futility of running away, not knowing where, not knowing why. Just the great need not to hurt anyone, to escape the pain, and the even greater need to feel the Great One was with him.
My friend, I do not know you, but I sense your need. Quiet now. Rest. We can talk later. I will fix some tea.
Skylark cannot look at the owl. How can he face anyone? What right did he have to seek shelter? Punished. He must be punished.
I will punish myself. I should not be allowed to live. It's just a matter of time before I... No! I will not think these thoughts. There must be a way.
The owl watched from his chair. He knew the stranger's thoughts were deep and painful. But his physical needs were great also, so he put more wood on the fire and brought a comforter to the drenched, bedraggled bird. He had never seen anyone who looked so lost and alone, so full of despair. Skylark trembled, tried to raise himself, but the owl gently coaxed him back to the floor, pulled the comforter around him, hooting softly, brushing the drops of rain from Skylark's eyes. Skylark refused to close his eyes, but drifted wide-eyed into a trance. He didn't want to sleep. His mind wouldn't let him sleep. The mind kept working, twisting, playing tricks on him. Over and over, he saw himself flying at top speed into a glass window, crushing every bone, turning his body into a shapeless pulp. The soft feathers of the owl would brush his eyes, smoothing the tired lids closed, making it harder to fight the sleep that would be so threatening dreams. No, he would not sleep. Better to be in a trance and see the destructive visions than to sleep and dream. The owl persisted in his hypnotic stroking of Skylark's eyelids.
Hoot, hoot, hoot.
Skylark slept, and with the owl kept watching for signs of dreaming.
This troubled one will sleep peacefully.
With every twitch from the sleeping stranger, the owl would croon and feather his head. Twice, Skylark started, as though gripped by fear.
Hoot, hoot. I'm here. I'm here.
When the owl sensed that all was calm within the stranger's mind, he shook his cramped wing, rose and returned to his chair, still hooting softly to maintain the security he wanted the stranger to feel. And then he too slept while the storm raged. A shaft of sunlight poured across the window, trailing across the ragged bundle on the floor. Skylark opened one eye.
Where am I? How did I find this haven of safety?
As he rose from the hearth, the owl sensed his movement and awoke. They eyed each other for a moment, and the owl spoke first.
Well, the storm has left us. Another day for which to be grateful.
Skylark hung his head as he remembered his flight and the reason for it.
Tell me, troubled one, what is in your heart?
Skylark's breast tightened as the muscles contracted. The familiar pain began. He stroked his chest to ease the pain. Words would not come. To speak, to think, was to relive the horror of his actions.
Are you in pain?
Too many thoughts were coming. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the kind face across the room. Could he trust the owl?
I'm very concerned about you.
The owl looked genuinely concerned. He had the same compassionate expression Skylark had seen so many months before in Dovey's face.
Oh, Dovey, how I failed you. How ashamed you'd be of me. I don't deserve to have learned to fly. I don't deserve to live. I want to die.
What are you thinking?
Look, I know you want to help, but I don't think talking will help.
Then why have you come?
I didn't come here purposely. I just happened by in the storm.
Your need has brought you here, young one.
Why do you say that?
No one would come out in a storm like this unless they were running for help or running away. If you were running for help, you would be asking for assistance immediately, out of concern for others. If you were running away, you would be asking yourself, who can I trust?
Skylark hung his head. After all these months of pain and secrets, holding everything in, has he ever been able to trust? Not since Dovey. He's gone his own way after he'd learned to fly. He had not even returned to his parents. He had no one. Trust. Simple trust is what he lacked.
Don't tell me your problem right now. Tell me how you feel.
Skylark had a choking sensation in his throat. It was as though his voice was paralyzed.
Why do I tremble at the mere mention of feeling?
Tears rolled down his face, and he started to quiver.
I must get out of here.
Where will you go?
I don't know.
Ah, run. Run, you know not where. Cry, cry, you know not why. Isn't it time you stopped running, my friend?
The quivering of his feathers changed into an uncontrollable shaking.
You're not equipped to flee right now. Drink some tea and calm yourself.
Downy feathers floated in front of Skylark's tear-streaked face. It was the way it always was, the way it always will be.
I do not feel. I am dead within.
Ah, my friend, you feel. You feel deeply and strongly, but you have no words to speak your feelings. How sad. Your feelings are as much a part of you as your wings. They are precious to you. But shake, my friend. I will hold you while you shake. Maybe if you shake, your feelings will be sifted from the pain. I cannot give words to your feelings, but until you find words, until you verbally express your feelings and identify them, this unknown pain, this shaking will not leave you.
The pain will not leave me because the Great One has left me. If only I could find the Great One.
The Great One is with us all.
Not with me. Not after what I've done.
Your feelings are keeping you from sensing the presence of the Great One. The wings of your spirit are heavy with feelings that need to be released. Once expressed and understood, your spirit will take flight as well, and you'll know the Great One has never left you. Let yourself feel one feeling right now, just one feeling. Have you ever lost anyone or anything? How did you feel? Did you grieve?
Sobbing Skylark hid his face, fell into a deep silence.
Grief that has lost its way from the heart can poison every thought, darken every dream.
The owl studied the young one before him.
Give yourself to grief for now. Let yourself feel the pain. For what do you grieve? What or whom have you lost?
I lost Dovey, and I did not grieve.
Grief needs two hearts, young one, or the heart it grips will break. Share your grief with me. Who is Dovey, and who are you?
My name is Skylark, and Dovey was my mate.
The words came out in a harsh whisper that changed to a rasping, gasping cry. The owl could see that grief would pour itself out of Skylark's soul in a mournful song before he could find words to express it. Suddenly it exploded into a high-pitched wail, rising higher and higher, the notes issuing from his beak as if they were separated from his body, the vibration of it permeating the forest until every living being throbbed in the sadness for the pain of this mourning creature. On he wailed, louder, stronger, until other creatures crept close to the tree in which the owl lived, wanting to comfort, wanting to soothe this painful heart. Oh, this was more than grief. This was the heart that had been screaming in silence for too long. Now it had found the ancient language for pain. It was the scream of a soul that had failed to bond to creator and creation, inching its way to self-destruction. There were few steps left now. The owl was perplexed at the revelation of torment before him. How do you comfort a dim light that was about to extinguish itself? He knew now that Skylark could go either way. He knew he had to be careful. And he knew that he wasn't qualified as a healer, but he was there. Oh, where was the Great One indeed? He searched among his herbs until he found some chamomile. And he began hooting softly in response to Skylark's wail as he prepared a strong tea. Though the sound he was making was completely covered by the endless undulation, the mere vibration of his comforting song seemed to penetrate the pain. Skylark's glazed eyes blinked. The wail subsided slightly as he became conscious of the owl's gentle crooning. Was the owl in pain? No. His eyes were only reflecting the intense suffering of Skylark's features. Skylark was shocked by the reflection, and the wail abated even more. Now, the owl saw his opportunity and preferred the tea. Skylark sighed, fell silent as he reached for the tea.
There was a storm. The nest was damaged. We were trying to decide who was going to stay and protect the eggs and who would go forage for new materials to repair the nest. I wanted to go and leave Dovey with the eggs. I thought she'd be safer there. She was concerned that if the storm increased in intensity, she wouldn't have the strength to shield the eggs. She begged me to stay. I let her go. I let her go. She never returned. I couldn't even go search for her because the eggs started to hatch. Her last words to me were, "Do not under any circumstances leave the eggs." She said eggs this close to hatching should never be left unattended. She knew that my parents were gone when I hatched. My parents. If only my childhood had been different. They told me I was a failure, that I'd never learn to fly. I lived a lonely, isolated life so I wouldn't have to face the reality of all my family taunting me, goading me, forcing me to learn when they wanted me to learn instead of when I was ready. It was because of Dovey that I finally learned to fly. But I'm finding out my parents were right. I am a failure. I'm stupid. I'm disgusting. I'm a coward. I'm violent and ugly. I don't deserve to be called a father, not after what I've done. My children will be better off without me. The best thing that could happen to them is if I were to die.
Stop. I will not have you saying such things about yourself. You are harming yourself to continue in such thoughts. I feel anger and sadness that you are beating and whipping yourself in such a degrading way. You are a person with feelings, and I want you to respect your feelings. You are also a courageous person to have come this far alone. But you needn't be alone any longer.
I am alone. Dovey has left me, the Great One has left me, and I've left my children.
Perhaps you're right. Perhaps the Great One has left you. The Great One reaches out to us through his people. If Dovey is the only one you trusted and she is now gone, it must feel as though the Great One is no longer with you. That can be a lonely feeling. So now it's necessary for you to reach out and bond with others and share feelings. Because as you bond with others, you also bond with the Great One. Skylark, you've isolated yourself from your family. You have no friends. Dovey is gone. You are alone. But the will to live drove you to me, not cowardice. Even in your confusion, you're resisting your aloneness, and you have shared one feeling with me, your grief for Dovey.
I have to be alone. I'm a violent person. I've always been a violent person. I'll always be a violent person.
A heart unable to share feelings often finds expression in violence. That is why it's so important to learn and use the language of feelings. It would have been best if you had learned to share your feelings as a child, but that wasn't possible. So you learn now. You either learn to express your feelings verbally and gently, or you continue in violence. The times we are living in call for gentleness, Skylark.
But I don't know gentleness. I wasn't taught gentleness. I'm a violent person.
Calm feelings, gentle manners. Raging feelings, violent manners. Practice sharing your feelings with gentleness, and peace will come to you. Some people share their feelings with the Great One. For others, that's not enough. They need to grope their way to feelings with another.
I don't want to feel.
To be alive is to feel. You can't escape feeling. Your admission of violence is the key, Skylark. In denying your feelings, you ignore opportunities to curb your violence. So far, you've recognized only 2 feelings, grief and violence. But you have 100 others you need to find words for. You poured your grief out in a painful, agonizing wail a while ago. Now I want you to tell me what you felt when Dovey didn't come back.
Skylark turns away, so the owl cannot read his face.
Nobody's ever asked me what I felt before. Not even Dovey. She always seemed to sense what I needed without my telling her. She was so beautiful, so giving, so gentle.
How did you feel when she didn't come back, Skylark?
I felt worried. I waited and waited. The storm got worse when she left, and I began to berate myself for letting her go. I felt anxious because she was out there all alone with no one to protect her. I called myself a gutless coward because I was really afraid to go out in the storm myself. But she was so sure that I should stay with the eggs. I waited through the storm, protecting the eggs as best I could till dawn. I felt bewildered when I realized she wasn't coming back. I hadn't realized how dependent I was on Dovey. Then the eggs started to hatch, and I felt panicky. Dovey wasn't there to help, and I didn't know for sure if I was doing the right thing for our little birdlings. I didn't even have the chance to search for Dovey and make sure she wasn't lying somewhere wounded and dying. I was running here and there, cleaning the nest, disposing of the shells, cleaning and feeding, cleaning and feeding. It was so hard to do it all alone. I felt tired all the time and isolated because I never learned to trust anyone but Dovey. So I had no one to talk to, no one to share problems with. And how could I know I had feelings to share, too? And if I had problems when they were young, it was nothing compared with when they started to flap around the nest and toddle dangerously across the branches. I couldn't control them except by being violent. I figured if I could make them be afraid of me, they would do anything I wanted. I forced them to do everything. Then they became very angry as they grew older and started rebelling. I felt so ashamed of myself. I knew deep inside that it was wrong to force. But I couldn't help myself. It was the way I was raised. And now my wings are stained with the abuse I've dealt out to my children. I must be punished. The Great One is punishing me for not being a loving person.
Skylark, the Great One is not punishing you. He's given us all tools to use to accomplish our task on Earth. And you have not learned to use them properly. How can you be punished for not using tools that haven't been placed in your hands? Look at it as though you haven't been educated. A lack of education means you're wandering in darkness, hurting yourself. I won't believe you're violent for violence sake. I'd rather know what you eat and drink and how it affects you. Whether you're suffering from depression, what your hopes and dreams are that are going unfulfilled, what bitterness you're holding on to, what negative skills you've developed that are more powerful than your positive skills. It's not always the will of the Great One when something bad happens to us. It could mean a mistake has been made, or more knowledge is needed. Knowledge is the light of the Great One.
Do you mean the Great One didn't punish me with Dovey's death? And he isn't punishing me for running away from my parents? And for not being loving?
Only a lack of knowledge has caused these hardships, Skylark.
But I must be punished. I've done something wrong. I've failed each of the people in my life. That realization alone is enough to punish me till I die.
It sounds as though you've decided to punish yourself, Skylark, no matter what the Great One wants. Because you've closed everyone else out of your life. You've been judge, jury, and executioner for a painfully long time.
Then if the Great One isn't punishing me, why do I feel like I'm being punished?
Because of the strong feelings of hate you are directing toward yourself. The Great One wants us to love ourselves. You can't love and bond with others until you begin to love yourself and stop punishing yourself. Punishment is such a useless waste of the energies you need for self-direction. It's healthier to reach out for the tools and skills you need to cope with the problems of life. Feelings of hope and gratitude can overpower feelings of self-punishment. As you reach out to correct the problem, that action helps to cancel out the fear of punishment. You feel worthy of forgiveness and understanding because you know you are sincerely working toward a solution to the problem. That's where hope comes from. An act of faith is preceded by hope.
Hope? I don't know if there's any hope in me. I've lived with punishment for so long.
Skylark, think for a moment. Would you want to punish your children for not growing feathers or falling out of a tree?
No, but I'd like to punish one for destroying the nest.
How did this come about?
It was Flutterby. She had beak crud. They all had it. I wanted to teach her and Cuckoo and Wart to clean their beaks so they wouldn't get beak rot. I showed them how to do it, but Flutterby refused to do it. I told her she wasn't going to bed until she cleaned her beak. Then I grabbed her wing and tried to force her to brush her beak in the manner in which I had taught her. She screamed and kicked and fought me. I was screaming back at her. I had forced her to the floor of the nest by now and was holding her wings down so she couldn't move. Big tears were welling up in Wart's eyes. Then Cuckoo stood over both of us, and with a pointing of her wing and an icy chirp, she ordered me to release Flutterby. As soon as I released her, I moved down the branch to try to figure out how all this happened. And Flutterby grabbed the nest and flipped it over the branch to the bottom of the tree. Wart left for the highest branch of the tree. Cuckoo went to another tree to sing a song of sorrow. Flutterby took off to fly with her friends, and I was left to survey the damage. It took me 3 days to rebuild that nest properly. Flutterby has destroyed it 5 times in the last 5 weeks. Boy, do I have a lot of feelings I need to express about that.
I'm sure you do. What did you feel, Skylark?
I felt infuriated. I was the parent. I was trying so hard to make things work, to control everything. And Flutterby wasn't cooperating. She didn't give a feather about how hard I was trying. I felt completely rejected by her and powerless in the face of all these obstacles. I felt defeated and bitter, and especially bitter toward my parents because they didn't teach me better. I was trying so hard not to be a failure. The last time Flutterby destroyed the nest was right before the storm that brought me to you. I couldn't repair it. I didn't see any sense in repairing it. I decided they'd be better off without me, so I took refuge in the storm. Isn't that a laugh? I took refuge in the storm. It was a way of feeling close to Dovey. I thought that maybe something would happen to me like it did to Dovey, and I would be relieved of my responsibilities. Don't you see? I'd be better off. They'd be better off if I had died in the storm. I kept calling for the Great One, but there was no answer. So then I knew I would find a way to...
Oh, Skylark, you've given up hope before you've learned what your resources are. There are many birds in the forest that you can form a bond with. Many who would be willing to give you the support you need as you find solutions to these problems.
But I'm afraid of other birds. I've never talked to anyone like I have with you. I'm used to acting with force to solve my problems.
But it's not working. Force isn't the answer. Most of the answers you seek are within you. If you destroy yourself, you may also destroy your children's hope for the future. You may think your children don't need you, but they do. The Great One will help you to use gentleness.
How can the Great One help me when I can't even find him? He's too far above me. I can't find the Great One, and I can't find the answer.
There are answers unknown within you. The Great One made you that way. As his creation, you are continually unfolding and revealing that unknown mystery within you. Just as the Great One is unknowable, so you too have the resources to draw upon that are unknown to you in the state of conflict in which you dwell. As you trust and have faith, the unknown will become known, and you will begin to lead yourself out of this pit of violence. But it will require bonding with others. Believe that the Great One is closer to you than even I am, because it's true. Your heart is his dwelling place.
How can the Great One dwell in someone as violent as I am?
The Great One understands violence better than you do. Trust, Skylark.
I tried to trust once. I went to someone and tried to tell them about my problems. They judged me. They told me the Great One had left me. They told me I was going to hell.
Who is they?
They said they represented the Great One.
I see. More of the righteous who won't let the lost into the kingdom of the Great One.
I blame my parents for all this mess. They've ruined me. My mother was cruel and vindictive. She hated me. I was always confused when I was with her.
Did you love her?
I wanted to. She wouldn't let me, always badgering, nagging, complaining, threatening, and beating. How could I love her? How could I be a child? I grieve for my lost childhood. I ran away from home so I could get away from all the pain and try to find happiness.
Skylark, you've told me much about your childhood, your pain. I think it would be good if you could see into the past. I'm going to give you the opportunity to see your mother as she really is.
What do you mean, how she really is? I told you how she is. I know how she is.
The owl went to his cabinet and took out a special potion made from the flowers of the forget-me-not. He mixed it with several other ingredients until he had made the memory essence.
Drink this, Skylark. Drink deeply.
Skylark drank hesitantly and waited.
Nothing's happening. What is supposed to happen?
Think about your mother right now, Skylark. Try to form a picture of her in your mind.
Mother. Mother, she's there. I see her. She looks fine, just like she always did.
Look again, Skylark. Look closer. This time, look at her wings and her eyes. What do you see?
I see pain in her eyes. I've never seen pain in her eyes before. And I see fear.
Now look at her wings.
Oh, Mother, your wings, your lovely wings, they're weighted down with stones. How can you raise your wings in flight with those terrible heavy stones on them? Oh, Owl, what are these stones?
They're feelings, Skylark, unexpressed feelings that have turned to stone. Your mother was never taught to express her feelings. That's why she couldn't teach you. The most important language a parent can teach a child is the language of feelings.
Look, Owl, there's a stone for the feeling of guilt, and another for bitterness. And I see hopelessness and anger, despair and loneliness, sadness and worthlessness. Yet underneath it all, I see courage. Mother, you have feelings, just like I do. I've known these feelings, too.
Skylark, your mother didn't set out to destroy you when you were born. She needed instruction in parenting just like you do. She needed to recognize and express her feelings so she wouldn't become violent. As a child, you couldn't interpret her violent actions. They were confusing to you. It's only when you mature that you associate a severe action with an underlying feeling and begin to cope with it, and not be harmed by the feelings that don't belong to you. Parents so often inflict their feelings on their child so that the child believes he is the cause of the parent's bad feelings. You ran away when you were quite young, so you could not examine your mother's feelings with a more mature vision. Now let's look at your daughter, Flutterby, Skylark. Her actions confuse you, too. By looking at her with the memory essence, you might gain the understanding you seek.
I'm afraid of this.
Fear is a good feeling to recognize, Skylark. Don't let go of it. Are you ready?
Yes?
Drink.
Skylark closed his eyes, drank the last portion of the memory essence. He felt as though he was waiting for the end of the world, but seemed to know that if there was any hope of solving his problems, it would come from his next experience. The dread he felt was confirmed in the vision he saw.
Oh, no. No. The stones. Her spirit is not free. She's too young to have such bitterness and anger and hate. Yes, I see real hate and hopelessness. Oh, my chest. Flutterby wants to die.
How do you feel, Skylark? Tell me quickly.
I can't.
Tell me how you feel.
I feel as though my heart was being pierced by a thorn, as though it was breaking. I can't breathe. I feel her suffering. I feel the torture of her crushed and broken spirit.
If you feel all of this, how can you tell me you do not love? You love deeply, Skylark. Listen to the feelings of your loved ones. Listen to your own feelings. Listening is an act of love. Feeling is an act of love. Even feeling pain with another is an act of love.
I love? This is what love is like?
Partly. But there's another side to love. A peaceable communion with another. A looking into another's eyes and finding acceptance regardless of how many problems you have to face. Two things happen when you are accepted. You love the other person without any reservations. And most important, you find you can love and accept yourself.
Oh, why did you give me the memory essence?
Because when you see things differently, you begin to feel differently. And when you feel differently, you behave differently. And from all you've told me, Skylark, you're longing to behave differently. Now, most of those whose feelings have turned to stone are longing for one thing that will turn the key to their hearts and dissolve the stone. What is Flutterby longing for? Use the memory essence to perceive it. It is clearly visible when you have a receptive heart. Remove the one thing that is immobilizing her, and she will respond to you. What is it, Skylark? What is she longing for?
Why, she's longing to think for herself and make her own decisions and her own mistakes.
And what is Cuckoo longing for?
To be a child. To be my child. She needs me to be a parent instead of her trying to parent me. It's too much for her. I think she once tried to tell me about her feelings, and I told her to stop. I didn't want to hear it. I was frightened by it. Why, she needs to express her feelings.
And Wart? What of Wart?
Wart needs to know I'm happy. That's what he draws his security from. Oh, Owl, I can see. I can see the next step. I know what to do. There is hope if I can see what to do when I go home, and I can. The Great One isn't punishing me. Expressing my feelings is one of the tools you were talking about, isn't it? Thank you, Owl. Thank you for helping me to see.
Thank the Great One, Skylark.
The Great One is with me. He has heard my call. You were right, Owl. He hasn't left me. Oh, Owl, I love my children so much. And I wanted them to love me. All I got was bickering. No support. No sympathy. I thought they were selfish and self-centered. Why didn't I see their feelings before?
They were there. You just didn't have the awareness you have with the memory essence. Leftover feelings can keep children from maturing. Unresolved feelings keep them living in the past, nursing a grudge, causing confusion when everyone expects them to live in the present and respond to present problems. If you can unravel the feelings your children have right now, you'll give them an opportunity to come into the present and develop more positive, happy feelings. Life is new. Life is now. Their feelings are dead weight, keeping them from springing into the present, the now. Talking with them individually about their feelings, about each of the times they were hurt by you, or by the circumstances in their lives, is the key to the releasing or dissolving of the stones. Your children will not be whole and healthy and sound until they can object to your treatment of them and feel safe enough to express their feelings in the future.
I used to think they were terribly stubborn because they reacted so strongly. I used to imagine that they were purposely blocking my every movement, dream, and hope. They seemed to take every opportunity to stymie my efforts toward peace, growth, and achievement.
They probably were. Look, you always used force to achieve the results you wanted. They had feelings like dejection and despair, fear and loneliness that they weren't able to verbalize, unable to express them, not even knowing they needed to. Frustration and anger was added, making the situation even more explosive, till all of their actions pointed to outrage. They didn't even know how they got there, and you never knew what hit you. Action is the only way children have of telling you what they're feeling. Flutterby overturned the nest. Cuckoo grew silent and sang a song of sorrow, and tears came to Wart's eyes. Those actions were signs of feelings, of outrage, sadness, and despair. Now, whatever you do when you go home, Skylark, don't tell them what they're feeling. First you told them not to feel. Then you didn't listen to the feelings they timidly tried to express. Now if you tell them what to feel, that would be the final blow. It's normal to try to assume the feelings of others, but if you have any kind of hint, do not verbalize what you think. Ask them. Tell them how you feel about what you've done. Then tell them you sincerely would like to know what they felt. If they won't share it with you, bring them to someone else. Encourage them to share feelings with whomever they feel safe. Go home, Skylark. Go to your children, your parents. If your parents reject you, go to someone who will sing the bonding song with you.
But what is the bonding song?
The bonding song is sung to help you become friends with another bird. If you can sing the bonding song in safety and hear it sung back to you, then it means it's possible to mate with that bird or to be friends with that bird. But before I tell you more about the bonding song, I want to try one more thing. I want you to remember Dovey with the memory essence.
Why? You think she has feelings that have turned to stone? Never. She had the softest feelings I've ever known. She had an inner beauty.
I'm hoping you will see something that will tell you why she had that inner beauty.
Oh, Owl, to see her one more time, to see her special glow.
Dovey had a glow?
Yes, I didn't see it all the time, but every once in a while I saw something I just didn't understand. I don't even know how to express it. It was a radiance combined with a peacefulness.
That's the look the Great One wants for us all. It means she was listening within her heart for the feelings that needed to be expressed and understood for every special problem she faced, so her feelings would never turn to stone, making her insensitive to the feelings of others or her own.
The owl finished mixing the memory essence and extended the cup to Skylark. With a look of great longing, Skylark sipped it slowly, thoughtfully, hoping he could extend this special moment for eternity. Then he relaxed as the memory essence lifted his thoughts to the hope of his heart. Dovey. Shimmering feathers, glowing countenance. Skylark closed his eyes, and the owl gently probed.
What do you see, Skylark? Look closely at Dovey's wings. The vision won't last long.
Her wings are incredible. Each feather is perfectly formed. Each feather represents a particular quality that belongs to Dovey. Patience, gentleness, honesty, justice, hope, trust, loyalty, faith, joy, peace, and courage. She has all those qualities, and each one is like a jewel that glows and radiates her inner desire to love and value herself and others.
What else do you see?
A special way in which she carries herself. She has the bearing of a daughter of the Great One, and she no longer knows fear or grief. How can that be?
When you walk in the presence of the Great One, there is no reason to fear or grieve. It's as simple as that.
Oh, how I miss her. The only person I've ever felt close to.
The only person you ever bonded with. And now it's time to bond with others.
But I'm afraid of others. I've known so many people who forced me to do things I didn't want to do. How can you bond with people like that? I've tried to bond and experienced nothing but friction.
That's why the Great One gave us the bonding song, to teach us how to bond. You can only form bonds in friendship with those whom you feel it's safe to form bonds. I will start singing the bonding song to you, and I want you to sing each line back to me, if you feel safe in doing so. If you don't feel safe, don't sing it. Now listen. I will let you be yourself.
Oh, you will?
Sing it back to me if you feel safe, Skylark.
I will let you be yourself.
I will let you do your own thinking.
Skylark sighed with relief. How easy this was. How comforting.
I can sing that back. I will let you do your own thinking.
I will listen when you speak.
I will listen when you speak.
I will encourage you to grow.
I will encourage you to grow.
I will let you learn when you are ready.
I will let you learn when you're ready.
I will let you be different than me.
I will let you be different than me.
I will forget your mistakes.
I will forget your mistakes.
I will believe in your goodness.
I will believe in your goodness.
I will respect your need to feel safe.
And I will respect your need to feel safe.
I will respond to you.
And I will respond to you.
Do you feel safe when you hear the bonding song, Skylark?
Oh, I do, Owl. It's a wonderful song. It makes you feel equal with the other person. It calms my feelings and makes me feel light instead of heavy. It makes me feel safe.
That's what it's supposed to do. And no one can tell you when it's safe to form a bond. You will sense it. You will not be afraid, for you will sense that you can grow within the bond. You can change within the bond. The bond will expand with your growth. If you try to bond with someone and you don't hear this song coming back to you, don't keep trying. That's the wrong person to bond with, and you will know friction every day and loneliness.
But what if you really care about the other person and you don't want to leave them?
Then you tell them about your feelings and keep working on expressing your feelings gently instead of acting out your anger at being hurt. Encourage them to express their feelings too. You will learn much about each other that way. And if that doesn't work, then you will have to decide what part of the bonding song you can live without with this particular person. Part of our ability to grow and develop is tied up in how much of the bonding song we can truly and sincerely sing. The more you grow, the more you can sing. Someone who isn't growing at all won't be able to sing any of it. Their feelings get in the way, very strong feelings. You may be able to persuade them to share their feelings by your example, but never by force. Of course, if you ever feel you're in physical danger, pray that the Great One will give you courage and go for help immediately. And now it's time for you to return, Skylark.
Return? Yes, it is. But how can I return knowing I'm going to hurt my children, knowing the violence within me may erupt into harmful actions?
Remember, they are feelings, Skylark. Think in terms of feelings, and you will know what to do, what to say. If you have feelings of doubt and fear, express them. You don't have to know all the answers to the problems you're going to face, but responding to your feelings and the feelings of your children will help lay the groundwork for reconciliation. Keep trying to bond with others while you're trying to heal your children. You'll need their support when your children reject you. You may face a lot of rejection. Rejection is your clue that they don't feel safe. It's not that they don't love you. By rejecting you, they don't have to face being hurt by you again. So keep singing the bonding song whenever they lash out or withdraw. Believe that they're looking for safety and acceptance. Keep looking at them with acceptance in your heart. It will show through your eyes. And keep sending out thoughts of acceptance. There are many wounds to heal, and the only thing you can begin with is hope. Look out the window with me, Skylark. It is the season of the hope light. See them flickering from bush and tree to grass and stump. As you make your way home, I want you to keep hope in your heart so you do not run. The fear you have right now is normal. Accept your fear. No feeling is unacceptable, but he who has faith does not flee. On your return, I want you to concentrate on the hope light. Every time you see it flash, I want you to say, "Make a way where there is no way, O Great One." No matter how many doubts you have in your heart, repeat, "Make a way where there is no way." When fear clouds your heart, look for the hope light. Hoot, I cannot go with you.
The owl opened the door. The Skylark faced the cool evening breeze as it ruffled through his feathers. He took one last look at the owl and stretched his wings and flew into the darkness towards home and family to begin again. Within minutes, the fear of failure gripped his heart. His wings skipped a beat or two. But as he recovered his pattern, he saw the hope light flash and said very fervently,
Make a way where there is no way, O Great One.
Thank you for listening to our program on family violence. Skylark from Violence to Feelings was written and directed by Phyllis Peterson and produced by Chuck Ingle. Skylark was played by Phyllis Peterson, the Owl by Chuck Ingle, and your narrator was Carl Balson.